unfortunately something that a lot of people have been fighting for. And it's something that we not only need to happen, but it's a part of our all rights that every single human being should enjoy, right? So, as you guys have seen, the Minnesota House, the House has passed the No Ban Act, which has been a stand, and it's designed against the immigration ban that the Trump administration unfortunately put forth, that was targeting specifically Muslim immigrants or individuals that have been trying to come here from Muslim countries, right? And as you guys know, they try to hide it and design it and make it seem like it's not, but we all know the truth, right?
It's a victory. It's one step forward in the fight against Trump's racist Muslim ban. This celebration today is also a victory. Everybody out here. And it's a step forward. Part of this celebration should be to remember earlier steps that have brought this victory today. Protests like the protest on January 31st, 2017, where 15,000 people protested downtown Minneapolis against the initial Muslim ban. And the hundreds of thousands that protested at airports across the country. People were in the streets and in the airports. The 20,000, the over 20,000 that were in the driving rain when Trump came to a Target Center, August 10th, 2019. We showed that Trump can't come into town and peddle his racist bullshit. We even go out to Burnsville when Trump tried to go into Burnsville and showed him that he can't go anywhere in the metro area without being confronted. And in fact, the latest protest that showed Trump what Minnesota and the Twin Cities is made of was when Pence tried to come in March of 2020 and spread his message of hate. He decided, oh, there's going to be too much protest, I can't come here. So he decided he canceled his speaking tour. Trump and his racist cronies cannot go anywhere in the country, especially in the Twin Cities, without being confronted by hundreds and thousands of people like yourselves. I'm proud to be part of the Twin Cities movement. Whenever our masjids are under attack, stand up, fight back. Whenever our Somali neighbors are under attack, stand up, fight back. Whenever our Muslim neighbors are under attack, stand up, fight back. Thank you very much.
I'm the Executive Director of CARE Minnesota, and I would have to say that since joining CARE Minnesota as the Executive Director in 2015, the world, and particularly here in the United States, has changed. It's changed in the way that it treated Muslims across this country. We saw unprecedented level of hate attacks. We saw unprecedented level of scapegoating Muslims. And it led to the election of this administration, which promised, as a candidate, Trump promised to ban Muslims from coming in the United States. And he did not wait. He didn't wait. He didn't think about it. The policy wasn't considered for time and for a long time. It was just within the first weeks of him being a president. Among his first executive orders that he signed was an executive order banning Muslims from coming in the United States. Also banning those who have green cards as well. And we saw, as Kent mentioned, America finally look in the mirror and recognize that for the first time in a long time, we had a president who was interested in suspending the United States Constitution, in completely undermining what the Constitution stood for, and naming out the fact that this was a Muslim ban, and they wanted to stop Muslims from coming in the United States. And they successfully did that and legislated it. And as soon as that happened, we saw Americans from all over the United States, and here in Minnesota, as Kent mentioned, outraged, shocked that this could happen in the United States in 2020. This executive order looked and mimicked the type of executive order that history has told us too often. The executive orders like the ones that after Pearl Harbor made Japanese Americans to be interned in internment camps. It is the similar type of policies and executive orders that have also exclusionary against people of color, people from China, other people who have faced similar type of executive orders by presidents, using the fear tactic, using this idea that Americans who come from a different part of the world are somewhat of a suspect. We saw that here in 2020. But that was not the most painful moment in this time. The most painful moments happened in airports. It happened in refugee camps across the world, where people who have been promised coming to the United States were denied the opportunity to come here. The most vetted people were denied coming into the United States. And not only that, but we saw that immediately that the courts started to play a role. The courts started to play a role. And there was injunction after injunction, and there was an executive order change after executive order. They tried to change the law. They tried to make it so that the courts would side with them. And sadly, but true in America, the Supreme Court sided in supporting this unconstitutional policy and made it law in the United States. This was a dark time for me and for many people across this country. I stood outside the Supreme Court when the decision was coming down, and the courts were actually when the court was listening to this case. And to hear that this was going to be an affirming of the Japanese internment camp policies. And when the Supreme Court came and supported this policy, we now had two branches of the United States government that agreed that the United States will ban Muslims from coming in the United States. But we did not lose hope. We hit the streets, we marched, we protested, and it took a long time, but just a few weeks ago, the U.S. House of Congress passed the No Ban Act. This is a historical moment because for the first time we can see how checks and balances work in this country. And I'm really proud of the work of so many people, the faith leaders across this country, the activists across this country. There's so many people who saw what an administration can do, how they could use the fears that exist in our society to create two Americas. A certain America for white America and another America for anyone else. And we see that today in almost everything that we are witnessing. But why are we here right now in middle of COVID, and we've asked many of you to come outside and celebrate the No Ban Act? Well, the reason why is because the No Ban Act will completely eliminate all of the previous bans that this Trump administration put forward. It will also not allow any president moving forward to come up with bans that exclude people based on religion or race, just as this particular ban was about. And so it's a tremendous victory. It is a light at the end of the tunnel. And we really couldn't do this without all of you. We couldn't do this without so many of you who called out, so many of you who were protesting. We had many protests here in the Twin Cities and across this country, at airports and everywhere. And her youngest child, who was going to kindergarten, was asking her, why are we being banned? Because this young kid heard that Muslim ban, there's a Muslim ban, Muslims are being banned. So he thought that he was being banned. But that's the reality. Children were affected. And in Minnesota alone, we had a family who were missing one of their loved ones, a small young girl who, thankfully, for the hard work of Senator Amy Klobuchar and Senator Franken at the time, were able to bring. But it showed how inhumane this policy was, and this policy is today. So I personally believe that this happened for a reason. It happened because we have taken for granted our Constitution. We have taken for granted the idea of a participatory democracy. We have taken for granted that if we don't stay vigilant, at any moment we can have our neighbors snatched from us because of some sort of negative policy. But this is the moment right now, as we come here today to celebrating the No Ban Act, that we recognize we have a lot of work ahead of us. This policy has yet to pass in the Senate, and we thank both of our senators from the state of Minnesota for supporting this policy. But we know we all need to stand up. If you're at home today and watching this, you need to know that the Muslim ban doesn't impact just you. It impacts all of us. It impacts who we are as Americans. And this ban also isn't just the Muslim ban, because President Trump made sure that he did not want anybody from Africa coming here. And he made sure of that in calling Africans, some African countries, S-hole countries. But that's the reality of the racism that we have in the White House today, that we have to fight back. In fact, he declared that he would have welcomed people from Norway from coming to the United States. But he doesn't know that a lot of people from Norway don't want to come here, because we have a lot of things that we need to fix, right? But that's the reality. So this was both a Muslim ban as well as an African ban. And we have to continuously make that effort to fight against this horrible policy. But we have now a No Ban Act. It has passed the House, and we couldn't really do this without brave people in office who made sure that they drove their efforts behind this policy. And particularly Congresswoman Illhan Omar. She was the most impacted of this policy. She was the most impacted in this policy because she was an immigrant, she's a Muslim woman, and in fact, if this policy happened, many of us standing here today would not be here, including myself and including Congresswoman Illhan. But she fought extremely hard. I've been to the Capitol and to the Congress many times, and her team and everyone made sure that this was a priority, that fighting the Muslim ban was a priority, and it made sure that this was going to happen. And we didn't just get a simple No Ban Act. We got a ban act that is actually going to have serious impact moving forward. We don't want to be back here for another community to be banned in years from now. We want to make sure that this type of policy, this type of law can protect future abuses, specifically from the executive branch, the president's office. So I want to really again thank Congresswoman Illhan. I know she was targeted because she stood very strong about this particular issue. She became the face of this, and she worked hard with her Congress leaders and colleagues to make sure that this ban would come forward and it would have a serious impact. So I know many of you right now, we're standing when we chose to be here, right here in Cedar Riverside today to celebrate this, because I know behind me in these towers, there are thousands of families who are missing their loved ones because of this policy. There are thousands of families who are still not able to connect or have their families come over. And there are many who are terrorized by this policy and the impact that they have, that they were not able to make a trip back home or trip to somewhere else because they feared that there could be potentially more policies coming from this administration. And to the children who believe that this policy impacted in so many ways. So I'm hopeful, and I'm extremely hopeful right now, because America, we are going through a revolution, and we are seeing every moment people coming together and not taking it anymore, saying enough is enough and recognizing the evil for what it is. And it's time now that we stand up and make sure that this policy moves forward to the Senate and gets passed. And it's also extremely important right now that we realize we cannot stop. We've just begun the fight, and we are not going to stop. And we're not going to let any other community be banned by another president or scapegoated by another president or politicians. Here in this city and in this particular area here in Cedar Riverside, this community is extremely resilient. This community has fought a lot of challenges, a lot of hate, but it's a sign of what America is. America is like this here in Cedar Riverside. It's people who've come from a lot of places, who make this place home, who fulfill their duties of being a great citizen, but are oftentimes their government falls short of treating them as equal citizens.
As someone who, as I said, worked with African diaspora, I have seen what the Muslim/African ban have done to many communities. The Muslim ban separated families. Many people have been denied access to life-saving medical treatment because they couldn't travel to the United States of America. Many people have missed important events such as birth and weddings. Many others, worst, have been denied the chance to say goodbye to loved one and attend funerals. So yes, today we are celebrating, and we deserve to celebrate. Today we are celebrating No Ban Act. We are grateful for everyone who participated, who protested with us, who stood and is continually standing with us. The No Ban Act reaffirms core American values of non-discrimination and freedom of religion, as well as the moral obligation to welcome refugees and immigrants seeking better life. The bill passed, as Jailani shared, to the Congress, and we expect the same leadership from the Senate. We urge the United States Senate to immediately take action and pass the No Ban Act. We need a law that protects the human and civil rights of immigrants, regardless of their race, religion, or national origin. Ayadalese strongly rejects any ban that is racist to its core. We will continue our advocacy. We will continue to unite our communities to fight for the dignity, respect, and human rights of all of us.
Trump didn't mince words when he said he wanted to stop Muslims from coming in to the United States. He didn't mince words when he came to the airport here in Minnesota and said he thought the Somali community and Somali refugees were being a stain here in Minnesota. And we have not minced words as we have talked about his so-called travel ban as a Muslim ban. A ban that bans Muslims who come from majority African countries, who have not only brought hate, anger, separation, but has really created an opportunity for all of us to decide what kind of communities we were going to be, not just in Minnesota, but in America. And all of you, every single day since then, have responded collectively together to say, we are not going to allow your xenophobic policy to thrive. We are not going to allow for a policy that separates families to remain. We are not going to allow for our Constitution to be under attack. And my colleagues and I have put the No Ban Act together to make sure not only do we overturn all of the executive orders under the Muslim ban, but that we make sure nothing like this can be implemented by a president of the United States ever. So when we passed the No Ban Act with support from even Republicans, we made a strong statement. And that is a statement really that is going to hold in the next cycle when we have a Senate that will pass that bill and we have a president in office that will sign that into law. because we all recognize that it's past time. It's past time for us to put this hateful, xenophobic policy in the dustbin of history where it belongs. So I'm excited to be part of a community that not only showed up at the airports when this went into effect, but also have put their resources together as we have fought it every single step in the courts, and has stood with us as we've comforted families, as we had conversations with community about what this policy really meant, and as we've championed voices to go and represent us at different levels, to say that not only Muslims should be allowed to come into this country, but we are going to elect them to represent us here in the United States.
Thank you.
And to me, to have been in Congress for the last 18 months, as the only member in Congress who comes from one of those countries that is on the Muslim ban, it was one of my proudest moments to vote for the Muslim ban, and to do it on a day where Rashida Tlaib was presiding over the House.
Wow.
Because we have decided to say, when Muslims are under attack, we are not just going to amplify their voices, we are going to allow them to be in seats of power so that they themselves can fight for their communities. So thank you all. Thank you to CARE for putting this event together, and thank you to all of you for showing up and standing with us.
Thank you.